What is PVC? PVC stands for polyvinyl chloride, and if you were to look at the structure of polyvinyl chloride, it has a repeating unit, and a repeating unit is sort of characterized by the brackets and an N around it. Now you're going to have two carbons, and these carbons are going to have lines that go out the brackets, and then you're going to have two H's on the bottom and an H and a Cl on the top. Now that is the structure of polyvinyl chloride, and polyvinyl chloride is made out of the monomer vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride is an alkene with 3 H's, 2 C's and 1 Cl, and it's actually a carcinogen. But that is not the reason that polyvinyl chloride is so bad for you. It's actually completely unrelated to any kind of vinyl chloride or polyvinyl chloride thing whatsoever. The polyvinyl chloride part is actually pretty stable, and that's fine. That does not cause any issues whatsoever. The issue is that with the polyvinyl chloride, there are things known as phthalate esters. It's a very hard word to pronounce and a very weird word to spell. It's got like a P, a Th, and an H. 3 consonants in a row is bad news for anyone with dyslexia, that's for sure. But these phthalate esters, they're the things that are bad for you. Phthalates in general are estrogenics, they're endocrine disrupting, they're mutagenic. They're horrible chemicals essentially, and they're the things that are easy to leach out of the things. The way that phthalate esters are used inside of the product themselves is that it just makes it more usable, it makes it more flexible, it gives it more sort of room to actually be used for loads and loads of different things. And it gives it the ability to sort of bind with the polyvinyl chloride strands through dipole-dipole interaction and stuff like that. It gives it that ability to maybe pack it closer together, make it more flexible and stuff, make it easier to work with. Trouble is that has its opportunity cost, and while that may be good for society because it can create a whole variety of new products, it's also not good for society because it does things, the phthalates do things to your body which aren't great. Now, an example of a few places you can find PVC with phthalate esters inside of them are water pipes. These are very, very easy to leach into the water that you drink on a daily basis, your tap water. That's a very hard source of PVC and phthalates to get rid of. You're going to need a lot of money to replace the water pipes or whatever. And if you don't have a PVC water pipe because your house is too old, chances are you're going to have a metal water pipe that's lined with BPA. So take your pick as which one you want, I suppose. But it's probably best that in the future we as a society work towards not having either of these as the most common water pipe. Because, yeah, both of these chemicals are pretty bad for you. Another source would be cling film, and a cling film, I've seen a couple of cling films where it says non-PVC, and that kind of indicates to you that maybe PVC isn't something that we should be wrapping our food around, because the phthalates will leach into the bread of the sandwich or whatever. But as well as the fact that this PVC is bad for your body, it's very bad for the environment as well during manufacture, and this is probably to do with the vinyl chloride and the polyvinyl chloride. It releases certain gases. The fact that it has to bind to the phthalate esters and they have to put that together in machines and stuff, it's not a great manufacturing process. It's not very environmentally healthy at all. So that's another reason that PVC is not going to be good, because when these harmful gases are released into the environment, we are part of the environment, we are part of the global ecosystem, so these gases are going to affect us still, even if it's not directly from polyvinyl chloride usage. Another potential use for PVC is anything that contains the word vinyl in it. Vinyl records, vinyl clothing. Vinyl's like a name for like the functional group of a vinyl chloride. Like a vinyl chloride is not really a functional group, but it's sort of a moiety, a chemical moiety. If that's on part of a molecule that's a lot bigger and then has a vinyl chloride tail or something, it's probably going to be called vinyl chloride instead of some weird like IUPAC nomenclature name like chloroethene or something like that. Chloroethene is probably the actual name for it, but it's going to be called vinyl chloride because that's the sort of old-fashioned name for it. That's the name that the general public know what this chemical is. They don't know that it's chloroethene. They know that it's vinyl chloride. And just like BPA, PVC is absolutely horrible for children. Children being exposed heavily to PVC is not a good thing at all, especially when they're in the womb. If when phthalates are in like a pregnant woman's bloodstream, it will pass the placental membrane into the womb where the baby is, and around the baby's bloodstream, the fetus's bloodstream, that's going to actually cause genetic mutations. Like their genital area is going to actually be screwed up physically, tangibly. Like they're not just going to be infertile on the inside. Like you're going to be able to notice that they're infertile because whatever's going on down there, that is not normal essentially.
Oh, you're awake. Well, your teeth are finished, and your
Oh,
gums should be healed by the end of the
where's
week.
my dick at? Where? Hey!
It's really not good, and it's definitely something that society needs to be aware of, and that's why I'm providing the information today. As I say, it's endocrine disrupting, so it screws with your hormones, it's estrogenic, and it's probably going to be some kind of androgen disrupting thing. It's probably going to contribute to some kind of other weird thing. It's just a very endocrine disrupting chemical, and it doesn't have a specific sort of thing tied to it like BPA does, where BPA is estrogenic. Phthalates, they are estrogenic, but it's hard to sort of know exactly what they're doing, because phthalate esters, there's loads of different types of phthalate esters, so one type can be estrogenic, one type can be a different type of endocrine disrupting chemical. Another thing for like that's related to children is like plastic toys. Plastic toys are often made out of PVC, and you know what like babies, toddlers, and children like they'll like eat anything. They'll put their mouth around and like start chewing on plastic. That's like oh god, that's a big alarm bell for anyone that understands what PVC does. The plastic toys will literally make the child dumber as they go through life. It will literally reduce their neurodevelopment, their social development, their behavioural development. They will act weirder. They'll act less sociably optimal, I guess, around other people, which isn't something that you would want. Like, it's not something that I would want for my child. I wouldn't want them to be stunted in their neurodevelopment. Really not something that I would like my child to sort of have, just because there's phthalates or there's PVC in their environment because they chew on the plastic toys or whatever. That's something that I would personally very much like to mitigate, and it's something that I hope can be changed in the future society-wide, so that people who may not necessarily be able to afford other alternatives don't have to choose the option that's actually going to harm their kids' development, and the only option for them, or there are many options, the many options for them to get toys for their kids are actually healthy options that don't screw with their brain development or whatever. That would seem like quite a logical thing, but PVC, a lot of chemicals that exist that are like quite reproductively toxic and estrogenic and stuff like that, it seems like why would the people that make the stuff put that in there when they've hired loads of scientists and stuff to actually make sure that it's safe? And that's because it's not a poison. If you drank a load of BPA, it wouldn't kill you. I mean, it may kill you, but it probably would be for a different reason other than the fact that it's estrogenic. It's sort of the fact that it's quite a long-term thing. These phthalates, these BPA, it's like a long-term thing. It's generational. Like, it will get into your kids' things and stuff like that, and it will be passed on. And it's only really a chemical that's going to make you infertile or increase your likelihood of being infertile. So it's not like a big bad thing for the scientists. Like, they're not going to be like, oh god, that's a horrible thing, let's not do that. Especially how it's only really over a long period of time. It's like they're like, we can just let that slide. And yeah, there's also the fact that it's hard to test these chemicals such as PVC and BPA. It's hard to test them, because if you want to test whether they're going to make you infertile, you're going to have to, one, make someone infertile by doing human trials on them and stuff like that, which no one really wants to do. I mean, if you do it on rats and mice, etc., but you're going to have to wait for them to become infertile. And if it's something that's going to take such a long time, then clearly it's a long-term effect, which you kind of also just brush aside like, that's fine. And if you live near to the factories where these phthalates are actually produced and where this PVC is produced, there's going to be a lot of phthalates in the air. There's a lot of dusty, airborne phthalate matter, dusty matter, that's also going to like make your children, or you even potentially, dumber. It's a development affecting chemical, but it's still going to have a bad impact on you as a human being as well. So that's just something to look out for as well. Like, if you live near a phthalate factory and it's not something you were previously aware of, maybe it's worth looking into that and seeing what you can personally do about it. Now, the general scientific consensus of PVC is to stay away from it. Like, the scientists, they know that it's bad for you, so they will keep them and their kids away from it, but they can't get that message across to everyone. It's quite hard. So the general civilian population doesn't even know that phthalates are probably something that exists, which is concerning, because that's definitely something that should be the case, and that's why I do this, because I want that to be the case. It's why I say this kind of stuff, because I want that to be the case. Even if I can't get rid of every single type of phthalate in my environment, I want people who don't even know that phthalates exist to actually have some kind of knowledge so that they can see what they can do, and I'll see what I can do as well. But my expertise is the knowledge itself, and I try to give actionable tips on stuff, but sometimes you can't just replace the water pipes within a day. It's stuff that takes time to get this stuff out of your life. But as a little final say, but you probably know if you have a fetus inside of you and you're smoking and drinking, that's going to have an adverse effect on the child itself. I honestly think that plastics, especially certain types of plastics, should be involved in that category of stuff that if you are exposed to it, it will actually have an adverse effect on the child itself, just as smoking and drinking do. They're the two common things that you will generally stay away from, like a lot, if you have a fetus inside of you. But I genuinely think that plastics, phthalates especially, should be on an equal level to smoking and alcohol. But as a bit of a wholesome moment, some phthalates have been banned from production, so we're getting somewhere, I guess. Now, these phthalates are DEHP, DBP, DIBP, and DINP. They're all the phthalates that have been banned from being in production. And yeah, hopefully as society progresses in the future, we can get rid of PVC as a whole. But there's not a lot of actionable stuff that you can do. Obviously, getting alternative toys for your kids, but a lot of the stuff that phthalates does is really just bad for kids. Like, you as a human being, it's not gonna kill you. But that's about all I have to say. With that, I recommend subscribing and have a good day.